But it still seems it may not have that much of an impact, regardless of what you believe. Now, before we look forward with Marianne Williamson and Peter Navarro, let's take a look back at some of the key moments from the last few months. Here's News Nation's Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer with a look at Kamala Harris's skyrocketing launch and seeming plateau.
It was a stunning twist of fate for the Democratic Party, nearly unparalleled in modern presidential history. President Joe Biden dropping out of the general election less than 4 months from Election Day, endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as the next presumptive Democratic nominee, and touching off a euphoric rise for Harris that now shows evidence of ebbing.
And I am firsthand witness that every day our President Joe Biden fights for the American people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation.
The sudden switch ignites a slow burn as enthusiasm for Harris builds. In the very first days, polls don't seem to give Harris an edge over Trump.
For Democrats, they view this move as something that's going to improve their chances in the general election. That is based more on hope than it is on the numbers right now.
The attack ads start rolling.
This is America's border czar, and she's failed us. Under Harris, over 10 million illegally here.
They'll stop at nothing.
Well, I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
The Republican Party is committed to banning access to abortion for all women in this country.
But Kamala Harris won't back down.
Within a week, stunning new polling reveals a surprising newfound fervor for Harris among Democratic voters.
Look at this. Back in February, just 62% of Democrats said they were enthusiastic about voting for Joe Biden. Look at this now. Woof. Up to 88% now say that they are enthusiastic about voting for Kamala Harris. That is a huge jump.
We've seen the party rally behind Kamala Harris, and now we've seen the polls. I mean, there's now several days of polls showing the race has shifted 3 to 4 points, towards her. She's in a very competitive position in this election, tied, maybe even a little bit ahead.
She's put Georgia in play. We now have a statistical tie in Georgia.
And the gains keep coming. Harris closing the gap with Trump, even erasing his lead both nationally and in the battlegrounds, sometimes by stunning margins. The presidential race going from a predicted landslide for Trump to a toss-up. In just days, her favorability also soaring. Harris has the wind at her back. And she has the money, too, not just in the world of online betting, where the odds have now shifted dramatically in her favor, but in her campaign's coffers. Harris raising a record-breaking $200 million in just the first week after she replaced Biden, closing the month of July with an unparalleled total of $310 million.
I didn't know she was black.
At the same time, her opponent is struggling to form a cohesive attack against her.
Until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
As Trump's allies behind the scenes beg him to drop the race talk and sharpen policy attacks against Harris, her momentum continues to explode. She is confirmed as the Democratic presidential nominee in a virtual roll call of delegates on August 5th, and anticipation grows as she prepares to announce a running mate.
Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
Harris choosing little-known Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota.
And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States.
Walz, best known as the guy who coined weird as a surprisingly effective verbal assault on Republicans.
Well, it's true. These guys are just weird.
In the weeks to follow, Harris largely limits her direct interactions with the media. No big sit-down interviews, no appearances on cable news, none of the so-called word salads people criticize her of making when she speaks off the cuff. Meanwhile, both candidates are locked in a game of political chess, with Harris in particular attempting to move to the middle on key issues. It all seems to be working. The highly regarded Cook Political Report shows Harris leading or tied with Trump in 6 of the 7 key swing states. The shifts are huge. Democrats moving up 8 points in Arizona, 4 points in Georgia, 5 in Michigan, 3 in Nevada, 8 in Pennsylvania, 5 in Wisconsin and 10 in North Carolina, a state Trump was once leading Biden in by around 7 points, and where Harris now leads. And polling guru Nate Silver's Silver Bulletin polling average has Harris up 3 points over Trump nationally, her largest lead yet for that polling average. The Harris campaign now cozily courting voters in rallies and scripted appearances.
Like I have white guy tacos and
What is
like
that,
black,
like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal.
I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
Excitement within the Democratic Party is at a fever pitch when Harris takes the stage at the Democratic National Convention.
Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
It is the pinnacle of Harris's meteoric rise, from a vice president with historically low favorability among voters to a powerhouse candidate raking in the fundraising dollars and likely voters. And for a Democratic Party which just a month ago was seemingly sleepwalking into a landslide defeat, the rags to riches change in fortune is head-spinning. Post-convention polls show Harris reversing Trump's lead over Biden, gaining ground in battlegrounds over Trump, among voters disillusioned with Biden, women and Hispanic voters. But behind the shock headlines, the fairy tale was morphing back into reality. The leads were modest and quickly appeared to reverse heading into the second presidential debate. With the New York Times poll released just weeks after the DNC showing Trump back ahead by 1 point nationally, a 4-point gain from the previous month.
And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan.
September 10th, the two candidates meeting on the debate stage for the first and only time. Harris would be widely praised for her cool and calm performance, while Trump appeared bitter, angry, and at some points, barely tethered to reality.
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
By some measures, Harris seeing a brief but significant bump in the week following the debate. But overall, polling is mixed, with little ground gained for either candidate.
The FBI investigating what they say appears to be another attempted assassination on former President Trump.
Good God, 2 times in 9 weeks.
And within days, a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump quickly engulfs the headlines. A man named Ryan Routh camping outside Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach for 12 hours, lying in wait with a rifle, waiting for the former president to pass by. As summer turns to fall, signs of momentum for Harris have all but come to a halt, even as the campaign launches a media blitz with mixed results.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
We're against fracking. Now you're for it.
You supported looser immigration policies. Now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all. Now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
Now, we asked ahead of time, because I can't just be giving a drink to the Vice President of the United States without asking. You asked for Miller High Life. You asked for Miller High Life. I'm just curious.
Okay, the last time I had beer was at a baseball game with Doug.
So cheers. There
cheers.
You go. There you go.
The interviews do little to turn the tide with mixed polling results from the battleground states. Democratic insiders grow increasingly concerned.
The election's coming November 5th, and I'm scared to death, and I'll get a time to, obviously...
You're not in a reflective mood.
Not in a particular reflective mood right now. I'm very, very concerned.
The concern for Harris turns out to be pretty valid, with momentum appearing to shift once again to Trump within the final weeks of the race. Harris and Trump now tied at 48% nationally, a 5-point swing in Trump's favor since just after the debate. And aggregate polling has Trump back in the lead in 6 out of 7 battlegrounds. In the midst of it all, Harris seemingly taking a big risk by sitting down for an explosively combative interview with Fox News' Bret Baier.
Practically within hours of taking the oath was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
How Harris performed in that interview is still up for debate, with both the right and the left declaring a knockout for their side. But the polls were clear. Harris was still struggling to capture the healthier numbers she once saw. 2 weeks out from Election Day, and every major poll aggregator has shifted from a slight advantage for Harris to a slight edge for Trump, with Harris slipping in the battlegrounds she once led. And despite record-shattering fundraising and eye-watering $1 billion in 3 months, the money is back on Trump. With early voting well underway in nearly every state, both candidates now crisscrossing the battlegrounds.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I think we've really energized a lot of people this time because they've seen how bad it is. This last 4 years it's been a horror show, an absolute horror show.
The race, a statistical dead heat by most measures, and for Democrats who were once buoyed by Harris's entry into the race, now any crystal ball that may have shown a clear path to victory is reflecting a much murkier forecast.
Thank you to Kelly Meyer in Washington. So that's how